uninformed and inexperienced do you have to be to make Charlie Kirk look like he has greater than a room temperature IQ? Let's find out.
Just ask, at how many weeks do you think that a fetus is viable?
Well, viability and moral worth are two different things.
No, but I'm asking you, at how many weeks do you think a fetus is?
So I actually like that move. I pull that move. I say, because you'll ask somebody something, and then they'll, instead of addressing it on their terms, they'll kind of kick it back to you. So she said, no. This is according to you. So that was good.
20 weeks, a baby can survive outside of utero.
So it's actually 24 to 26 weeks?
Well, it's 20. The youngest ever in a NICU unit actually happened in San Diego, not far from here, and survived at 20 weeks.
Okay, so under Roe v.
So, like, do we use an outlier to say this is the way things are? No. So her generalization, like 90% of the time, and I'm making these numbers up, it's between here and here. That's fine. Not a big deal, but, just know what you're talking about.
v. Wade. 93% of abortions happened in the first 13 weeks of pregnancy. That's 93% of the abortions happened well before a fetus is technically viable as
sure.
a form of life.
Let's go into viability. So what is it about, let's say, a 6-week baby that has a heartbeat, its own DNA, fingerprint, brain waves, that is less moral worth than an 88-year-old right now with dementia in a home down the street? That person requires a...
So you can see her brain glitching here. I don't know. Is this technically an appeal to emotion? Is this fallacious argument? I don't really know, because he's trying to discuss moral worth for something. In general, I call myself pro-choice. Now, does that mean I think you should be able to go into a clinic with a dilated cervix and say, you know what, I changed my mind, get rid of it? No. Do I think that at 35 weeks, if you find out your baby has Down syndrome, you can be like, well, I don't want a baby with Down syndrome, so give me an abortion? No. Do I think late terms should be available to happen if there's, if there are health risks involved, or if we know that the fetus has some sort of congenital disability and it has almost no chance of surviving? Yes. Before this point of viability, or where the baby fetus, whatever, I don't care what you call it, before it can have an experience of any kind of suffering or anything like that, I don't think there should be any restriction. If that's your choice, then that is your choice. Now it's a question of, well, why is it that I can choose at 6 weeks to just destroy this life, but a fully grown, but, completely gone individual, late age, vegetative state or whatever, how come we can't just get rid of them? I think the only argument you need is that nobody has a right to use your body. All the arguments about it's not even a human being, it's not even alive, whatever, I think that those are terrible arguments because of the avenues they can lead you down. I don't want to get deep into them, but like I said, you don't even need those arguments. So if you want to try to meet somebody who disagrees with you kind of where they're at, you need to discuss with them, on what grounds do you think that somebody has the right to use another person's body? And they're going to short circuit when you do that. The only response that I really ever hear them say is, well, if you had sex, you consented to get pregnant, which is just so unbelievably stupid. You can't consent to getting pregnant because you can't choose it. Set aside involuntary pregnancies. People are trying to get pregnant. They don't choose it. They're engaging in an activity where the odds of getting pregnant, I guess, are higher than an abstinence, but you still don't choose it. That's like an insurance company denying you coverage when you get T-boned by somebody because they said, look, you chose to drive, and we know that driving is dangerous, so you consented to the possibility of getting in an accident. Now, for the older person, advanced age, whatever, do they consent to having the plug pulled on them? Because their consent is what matters. And then you turn around and be, what about the consent of the baby? They can't consent. It's not on the table. There's such a thing as discretion. Let's not pretend that there isn't.
Assistance requires help. Why is it that the 6-week baby is of less moral worth?
Well, first of all, it's not a baby, it's a fetus.
Well, what does fetus mean?
So you lost. You're trying to convince somebody that a human being isn't a human being. I don't care if that's not your terms, if that's not how you view it. You have no hope. Like, can you not just see that they think it's an actual human being? Charlie Kirk wouldn't consent to being forced to have somebody sewn to him, a grown person, so that his blood could cure a disease that they have. Meet them where they're at.
A fetus is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
What the I'm sorry, is this
It means little human being.
Ooh, his smile is very creepy.
So it's over, and nobody can or should take you seriously. You can't respond to even the slightest bit of adversity without just lashing out. You're acting like a cornered animal.
Smiling is creepy?
No, your smile specifically.
Got it.
But let's go back to...
So the thing with the flags here, if half of the people raise their flag, then the person in the middle is done talking, and then they do like this stupid who can run to the chair first thing. So if you pay close enough attention, you will find that religious fundamentalism and sports fanatics, they all act in the exact same irrational way. You can score points just by telling the other side, oh yeah? Well, fuck you! You don't necessarily have to argue logically. All you have to do is play the hits, which is to say the talking points and virtue signal to the way that makes your group bark and clap like a bunch of seals. The reason people like Donald Trump and, Tommy Lahren and Charlie Kirk and Shapiro and whatever, the biggest reason they are popular is because they are counterculturalists. Enough people hate the tone policing and everything else that comes from the left that they're willing to support people that just push back against this stupidity. David Portnoy's a pretty good example. He's a person who socially is very left libertarian. Initially supported Trump because he's rich, and so he probably thought that his economic plans were good for him. But Barstool Sports it's a comedy show, and Donald Trump putting emotional, irrational people in their place is funny.
Let's go back to we're losing track here.
No, but what species is the fetus?
The fetus is not a species yet. It's technically classified as a parasite until it is.
Holy fucking shit. No, a human being at no point in its life is ever a parasite. I think Destiny probably did the best job in articulating this when he was on that whatever podcast where he argued with those two women. I feel like people on the left just don't consider legal personhood and being a human being as being two different things. Destiny did a really good job of formulating his arguments around that. He would say, like, the fetus is a future person, and he doesn't really mean that it's not part of the human species. He means more along those lines.
It's viable. So, now, I want to talk to you about something very quickly.
I can't let you get past that. Are you saying a baby is a disease or a tumor?
A parasite is not a disease and a tumor. Those are not the same thing. A parasite is defined as something that cannot survive outside of its host. A baby, before it is viable, cannot survive outside of a woman's womb.
Got it. So
that is not what a parasite is. By definition, a parasitic relationship is one that occurs between different species. You can't parasitize your own members. All we're doing here is trying to score points and win a topic within the debate through technicalities.
So let's extrapolate that.
It is not a living organism.
Our old...
Okay, I was afraid that I wasn't being super charitable, but when you say a parasite isn't a living organism, you don't know what you're talking about. You're making it worse.
Old people with Alzheimer's and dementia that are being assisted every day, are they parasites?
No, they're not parasites. They're human beings who are on the brink of death.
Got it. So
they can't live on their own.
They're not going to be able to survive.
My 4-month-old that requires mom's breast milk and requires daily changes and feedings cannot survive without its own. Is my 4-month-old a parasite?
Your baby can breathe on its own. Your baby can drink water from its mouth to its stomach.
Okay, good for her. That was a perfectly fine explanation. Pretty much never debated this topic because I don't really want to. But when I said nobody has the right to use another person's body, the person I was talking to talked about like breast milk and things like that. And I said, you don't have to use breast milk. You can use formula. And also, you can You can adopt at that point too. There are alternatives.
But it cannot.
Your baby can
Can it
eat
hunt?
food.
Can it gather? Can it reason?
But that's
Okay, now Charlie looks like the idiot.
not what qualifies something as
Oh,
being
okay,
a
so
living
let's-
organism.
then
Being
let's
a
get
living
back to
organism
terms.
simply means, can you survive outside of a womb, outside
No.
of your host?
Got it. So I just want to make
No.
sure I'm clear. Why does that then equate to moral viability?
It equates to scientific viability.
Why? Under what standard?
Because
So science is descriptive, not prescriptive.
it is not alive, and you are
it's-
advocating for the rights of
It's alive. I guarantee people later are going to come up here and say that it is alive.
something that is not technically a life,
Got it. So what is something
while
that has
sacrificing the needs of the human woman who is alive.
Got it. So, but a mom can survive
Yes.
without the baby in her,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yes.
The baby cannot survive without the mom.
Yes.
But a mom cannot survive without her lungs. So it's not her body, it's in her body. It's not
Yeah,
her
I
DNA,
know.
so it's not
What?
her choice. So it's a
It actually
That didn't make any sense. I get the argument that the baby isn't her body, so she doesn't get to. But the thing about lungs, yeah, that was pretty bad.
is directly her DNA.
it's
It is 100%. It's 50% of her DNA.
half her DNA.
It's 100% fit. 50% of the time, it works every time. I'd give her a D+. Yes, I know this guy. This is Dean. If you don't know about my history with Dean, he got entangled in the Irish thing. I'm not going to go into it anymore. But
Well,
Okay, first of all,
do we have our terms correct? We agree?
Actually, no. So first of
Okay,
all,
got
I
it.
would like to refine our terms. I
Got
have
it.
2 points to bring up after that, though. So you define murder as like intentionally like killing a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very poor way to define murder because if someone were to like break into my home and point a gun at the heads of me and everybody I love, and I intentionally kill them to
okay, just real quick. This is kind of just personal preference, but the fact that this sounds so obviously rehearsed a gazillion times, you lose points for that. And when somebody doesn't go along with your script, usually you flail in the wind. By all means, your arguments, you should know them. I mean, you should know what you believe, like by heart or whatever. But it's very transparent what's going on here, and I find it to be nauseating.
prevent them from killing my family. I don't think I murdered them, right? So I would define murder as the unjustified termination of a human life.
You're making a good point. Let me further clarify.
First of all, hilarious how he started saying unalive and then he said murder because on TikTok, you're not allowed to say kill or murder. And Dean's whole thing is he's a TikToker. I don't remember if Kirk said murder is intentionally killing something. If he did, that's obviously stupid. So yeah, everything Dean said there is fine. Self-defense is not murder.
Making a good point. Let me further clarify that. So self-defense is very warranted.
Exactly, right?
But I can see where you're going to go with how that has to go with abortion.
So I'm going to interrupt here. When people say abortion is healthcare, I don't watch abortion debates, so I don't 100% know what they mean by that. But on technicality, like I could, again, I don't debate this stuff, but what I could say to a pro-life person is it healthier to be pregnant or not pregnant? It's healthier to not be pregnant. So then I would ask them, I think that's what people mean by abortion is healthcare, generally speaking. So I would ask the person, why must we force somebody to be in a position where their health is compromised? I guess, because we absolutely never do that in any other case.
We can go down that journey in a second.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I kind of do want to give you my argument insofar as why I'm pro-choice, why I think it's justified. But first, I think that, your position is quite absurd, right? Because you're saying that it is murder to kill a human being, right, at any point in development, especially when it's in the mother's womb. My question to you would be, well, does this make women with IUDs murderers? Because it is the case that in some scenarios, an IUD will allow for conception to occur, meaning there's a unique human life there, but it will prevent its implantation, intentionally killing it.
Well, no, preventing implantation is not necessarily the same thing as terminating a fertilized egg.
Yes, it is. I don't know how extreme Charlie Kirk is. I've heard him say some things like he doesn't believe in the death penalty necessarily. So, I mean, yay. But the morning after pill, it just prevents the, whatever you call it at that point, a blastula, whatever. It prevents the embryo from implanting. Now, again, technically, an abortion is a termination of a pregnancy, and you're not pregnant until the embryo implants on the uterine wall. So plan B and some IUDs, I guess. I pretty much thought all IUDs were just spermaticides. So whatever, what do I know? If that's how they work, then it's not technically an abortion. However, the problem, and Dean, good job so far. We're also kind of now in the IVF land. I don't know if we're going to go there. But yeah, like hardcore pro-lifers, Catholics, they're very much against IVF because you create embryos, but then most of them are destroyed. And they are going to, and Charlie would have to concede that that's the moral equivalent of murder. So I think he's going to try to get him here on, is plan B murder? And if he says no, then Charlie, you're a hypocrite.
For example, if you take plan B, again, it's not the same thing. Preventing the production of progesterone is not the same thing as terminating a fully...
No, Charlie. He's talking about the prevention of ovulation. That's birth control. Not plan B. Maybe Charlie just doesn't know how it works, but no, that is not what plan B does. Plan B, it's hormonal. I don't know specifically what it does, but it allows for fertilization, but prevents implantation.
Not know for a fact that the egg has been fertilized. You do not know that when you have an IUD.
Okay, yeah, so preventing fertilization or implantation to the uterine lining is killing a conceived zygote. So what happens?
Yes.
A sperm goes into the egg, right? The egg becomes fertilized. It's a conceived zygote. In some cases, it will prevent the implantation of the conceived zygote, killing the conceived zygote.
In some cases, correct.
So what do you say in some cases, women with IUDs are murderers?
Of course not. They're not murderers. We do not know for a...
Well, yeah, but they would be. All Charlie's saying here is that they're getting away with it. We can't know it, but if those embryos are human beings, they are getting away with murder. But we're not going to do anything about it because we can't know which ones are and which ones are not. We're at like an A+ so far because, yeah, Charlie's conceding to allowing people to get away with murder.
Case. That's like saying that.
So what's the difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote and like a mother going to Planned Parenthood and killing the fetus in her womb?
Well, so you're asking two separate things. If they knew for certain, to be more clear, that I have a fertilized egg and I'm going to take a drug to prevent that fertilized egg from attaching to their uterine wall, then yes, that is an act of killing or murder, of course.
Okay, so do you think all murderers should go to jail?
Do I think all murderers should go to jail? I mean, on third degree murder. However, no, I don't think women that got abortions.
What? On third degree murder? What?
Abortions or had IUDs should go to jail because I think that they have been deceived by mass culture and mass propaganda. Secondly, the people who should.
Yeah, but if we had a nationwide abortion ban tomorrow, then in the future, all of them should. So he's going to like grandfather in the murderers, but I don't know. He's probably not going
to go to jail are the abortionists, who are the ones that have been putting the abortion pill, the ones that have been doing procedures, the ones that have been going into the third.
What is warranting that reaction?
Third trimester and breaking babies' backs and inserting them with syringes while the babies are crying and suffocating, being born alive.
Why are they putting the flag up? Dean is doing objectively a far better job than before. And now, okay, you know what these are? These are white flags. They're uncomfortable with what Charlie's saying, and they're begging him to stop. So you're going to get rid of, so far, your best interlocutor, although hardly anybody has gone yet, because you're, ooh, these people are so unserious.
And then being dead on the operating table. Okay. That is who should go to jail.
For crying out loud. Oh. This audience, oh my God.
That was actually the best point somebody made.
We'll have to talk about it.
Okay, whenever I'm talking about this discussion, I always go to the question of what about in the case of the mother when her life is in danger? Because I'm a big believer. I don't know. I'm still iffy on if I think it's or if it's murder or not. But even so, I mean, I don't want to say murder is justified.
Look at this. Okay, remember when I said that wokeism is the same thing as religious fundamentalism? She just violated one of the 10 commandments. Not that long ago, you could be executed for believing that Jesus Christ is divine, but having a slightly heterodox position on the Trinity, like Giordano Bruno. And she is immediately being voted off the island for saying, well, I go back and for being slightly heterodox on the pro-life, pro-choice thing. I'm sorry, but this circle of idiots is completely useless, and they eat their own. That's the biggest problem with the left. I was reading a National Geographic article once, and I don't even remember what the context was, but the writer called what the left does suffering porn. I thought that was brilliant. I basically just say it's a competition. The more intersectional you can get, or the more extreme you can play up or frame the oppression or whatever's happening, the better you do. And again, anything mildly heterodox and we're going to get rid of you.
Guys, wait, let me just get this one point and then you can vote me out. Give me 1 second. Say the mother gets pregnant and she knows that if she gives birth, she's going to die. She has some kind of health complication. Then what do you do in that
Cesarean
case?
section.
I don't know what that means.
It's a C-section. They do
cesarean
an
section.
insert.
Guys, wait, hold on. Just give me one
Right,
second.
they go right-
Okay, so she hadn't heard the word cesarean before. That's fine.
They go right below the belly button and they deliver the baby, and after she doesn't have to give birth. It's technically birth, but it's much safer. So that's actually safer than an abortion procedure.
Okay, so she didn't even get to say anything.
There's women who are being forced to travel hundreds of miles to access abortion care, even in cases of rape in certain states that they're not giving any sort of allowance for that. And
Why are flags going up? Is it because he said rape and not grape? I think people that want to go are just putting up their flags to get other people to put up their flags so they can race to the chair next.
Just want to clarify, the thing that you're aiming for is less abortion, right? That would be what you would want, or at least no abortion.
Eventually, it's also a protection of those that can't protect themselves. But yes, and that's why after the reversal of Roe versus Wade, we saw abortions go down dramatically in Texas, Alabama, Mississippi. We saw thousands of babies that are now alive and well that are able to have amazing lives thanks to the
I don't know if that's true or not.
reversal of Roe versus Wade.
I don't think a lot of that is true.
Well, it is, but
It's not true, because when you make abortion illegal, it doesn't actually decrease the amount of
that's a
abortions
nice
that happen.
talking point. In Texas, the numbers show differently. The birth rate has gone up.
Yeah, legal goes down, but illegal abortions still happen. Abortions still happen outside of whatever.
Okay, but if the birth rate goes up, then I think that Charlie's actually making the better point here, if what he's saying is true.
Data you're
That's
showing.
not true, but let's just say well, if you
40?
if you want to, well, first of all, if you count the abortion pill, you're right, but that's a separate thing than a chemical abortion and surgical abortion are different things. And I'm not debating you, I'm debating her. So if you want to do the flags and come back in, try and be faster next time. So let me ask you this. So the question is, we should try to limit unjust suffering of human beings, right?
Sure.
Okay, that's my position, is that there's unjust suffering of anywhere between 1.4 to 1.6 million abortions a year of human beings that are being mass.
I hope she asks him, then why are conservatives so against comprehensive sex education, the use of like the pill and contraceptives and all that? I hope that's where this is going, because they're massive hypocrites there too. And then what it leads to is, people on our side will just declare what's really happening is there's a conspiracy to pump out babies to people that can't afford them, and they're poor and they grow up uneducated, and that's the only way you can be a conservative. So they're trying to make baby factories so that there are more conservatives. We want to keep people down, don't educate them, and then they'll lean on religion and merguns and immigrants bad and conservatism. That's the conspiracy anyways.
Massacred in the womb. And so that's not a woman's rights issue, that's not a men's rights issue, that's just a human rights issue.
Okay, the best way to decrease abortions happening is proper sex education. Limiting abortion and making abortion illegal does not actually decrease the amount of abortions that happen.
So what is your evidence of that?
What is my evidence of that?
Because we have increased sex education in the last 30 years.
Sex education is so bad in America.
So they're both fascinating. They're both wrong. Sex education in America is better than it used to be, like Charlie said. But if Charlie's going to say that teen pregnancy or something is on the rise, that is false.
By bad, what do you mean by that? We have more access to birth control for young kids. We have more kids that are learning to use birth control at a younger age. We have more of that in our public school system. And we've seen all the trends actually go in a negative direction. So, in fact, we see
Why are they putting the flags up? Again, they're just, ooh, he's right. Let me put up my flag and let's end the bleeding.
More sex education there is, the more disturbing those trends are. So you say that, let me ask just one more thing. Mm-hmm. You say that if we make abortion illegal, people will still do it. Should we then just make gang violence legal because
No, I'm saying if you actually wanted to decrease the amount of abortions that happen, you wouldn't be advocating for to make abortion illegal. You'd be advocating for all of these other things.
Does that logic apply to stealing, looting, kidnapping, arson, and murder?
Well, actually, it does, because those are results of different
Okay,
societal
so-
issues
so-
that you should be
got it.
educating
So we
yourself
should
on,
make-
rather than making it
so we
illegal
should
at
make-
the front.
Can we?
What the fuck? It seems like people on the left seem to think if you just teach people that it's wrong not to murder, there won't be murderers anymore. Quite a lot of violent crime is the result of things like lead poisoning and other things that significantly decrease IQ that happen when the person is young through no fault of their own, and just mental illness. You can't teach somebody not to grow up and have their IQ destroyed by the environment, and you can't teach somebody not to be mentally ill. Holy fucking shit.
Should we make kidnapping, arson, burglary, murder legal because they're symptoms of something else?
We should be helping society heal from those
You got to
things.
answer the question.
Okay, so she's right, but she's not doing a very good job here.
We want less of those things. Should we just make them legal and we'll get less looting?
You know, actually, I'm gonna let someone else
Thank
take
you.
I can see why Charlie does this. He must feel so good about himself.
TikTok guy here.
Okay, yeah, Parker is a big TikTok guy. I've talked to him a few times before. Now, this is the only part of the debate that I saw, but I only watched like about a minute and a half of it. It's so bad.
But like pedophiles, people who were married to children in the past and normalized in that society, should they go to prison?
Should pedophiles?
Like-
Okay, so again, this is the most obviously scripted thing. Two things can be true. Parker can be saying what he genuinely believes, and he can, in the most ineffective and selfish and naive and immature way, be going up here to, at the speed of light, pump out as many virtue signal talking point clippable moments for him to grow his brand with than he can manage. Even though a person like Destiny, for example, does the same kind of thing where he talks at the speed of light, he doesn't, and we haven't seen much of this yet, but you'll see, he doesn't change the subject every 5 seconds to just try to steamroll or confuse or make his opponent just be like, what's happening? Somebody like Hunter Avalone is really, really good at what Parker is trying to do here. It's also possible that Parker is extremely nervous. Talking fast is a symptom of nervousness. If you've ever taken a speech class, you know that.
Like if you could go back in time, would you put those pedophiles in prison that married those children because it was normalized? They were deceived into thinking it's okay. Would you put them in prison?
You got to slow down.
What does this have to do with anything? Parker is talking as if he's piggybacking off the last conversation. This guy...
You got to slow down.
Sorry.
Pedophiles should get the death penalty.
Okay, I guess I'm wrong. I have heard Charlie say that maybe the death penalty shouldn't exist, but I don't know. Then he says this. I don't think anybody should get the death penalty. There, that's just my opinion.
So you'd go back in the past, you'd give them the death penalty even though they were deceived into thinking it was okay? But you said people who get abortions who are women shouldn't go to prison.
But it's not
Okay, because he said they were deceived into thinking it was okay. Okay.
currently illegal.
Okay, regardless.
pedophilia
at
is
that time, it wasn't.
No, I would not go back and retroactively enforce laws where things were currently not illegal.
You wouldn't put pedophiles in prison in the past.
Hold on a second. When was it illegal? When was it legal in America?
Well, child marriage was legal in America throughout the early 1900s and especially throughout most of society for thousands of years, especially in the Old Testament and in the Bible.
Oh my god. What the fuck are you doing? You're making Charlie Kirk look smart.
Hold
Right.
On. Well,
Not only smart, but reasoned and rational.
hold on a second. So where is the Levitical law that allows you to marry a child?
Oh, yeah.
Can you name the verse?
Well, I can't name the verse, but the particular conditions that are listed in the Bible are that you have to be physical maturity and emotional maturity, which is extremely vague and threats.
It's like in Numbers 31, where it says, kill everybody except keep the young women alive for yourselves. I'm pretty sure it's the next chapter, so 32, it says, when you conquer a group of people and you take captives, you go into them, and then you make them your brides.
Society has been seen to be met at puberty.
There is not a verse, but let's kind of go back.
So when is...
Just because there's not a verse, like,
Let's go back.
Well, there kind of is, so I don't know. Fail on Parker there for not having it, for not knowing what
the age of consent
abortion.
under your view?
Let's go back.
So, okay, so what's the age of consent?
Well, generally agreed upon, it's 18 years old. But let me ask you
Because you don't go based on what's generally agreed. You go based on the Bible.
I say 18 years old. But let me ask you a question.
Okay, so he's trying to say, okay, I get what we're doing.
Question.
Where's that in the Bible?
When does life begin?
Conception.
Like conception, great. So good. So should we protect all life at conception?
I care about sentient life, not
Sentient.
cellular
So
life.
when do brainwaves start?
Do you think brain dead people should be able to pull the plug on, like a family should be able to pull the plug on an individual
Hold
in
on,
the
you
family
gotta
that's brain
answer-
dead?
Yeah, so not answering answering questions with questions.
Gotta answer the question. When do
Still haven't
brainwaves? When do brainwaves start?
You can see brainwaves.
So, Charlie, hold on. You got to answer my questions, man. Parker, you're going to answer mine. Charlie asks a question. Parker immediately concedes.
Around 6 to 8 weeks, which in
I
brain
agree
dead
with that.
individual, there are brainwaves as well. So the
Got it.
brainwaves necessary to produce a
What-
subjective experience
so
are
don't-
met until
can-
around
can you see
18
it
through
from
26
my
weeks in the
Can
womb.
you see it from my perspective that at 6 to 8 weeks, those brainwaves will actually increase, not decrease, if allowed the process of development to continue?
Did you know those same EEG
Yeah, so this argument is really weak because in the future, brain activity will increase. Therefore, don't end the life right now. So conceptually, can you be guilty of a future that hasn't happened yet? Well, if you plan a terrorist attack or something like that, yeah, I think you should be arrested. But that's not what's going on here. We're not doing premeditative murder because in several weeks the fetus will have advanced brainwaves. We're ending the life right now. So this concept that you're harming a future person is somehow morally equivalent to harming a future person is just, it's so bad. I don't get why people don't see through that.
scans exist in brain dead people that you don't think are
no,
sentient?
but the difference with the brain dead people is that the likelihood of those brain waves actually increasing is very low at 6 to 8 weeks, when by 15 weeks they can hear the
It's
mom's
impossible.
voice.
It's irreversible sensation. That's what brain
Well,
death is. I
hold on,
apparently didn't know that.
But no,
it's not coma.
But you're doing a red herring. Go back to
No, it's
6.
not. What's a red herring?
A red herring is where you avoid the topic and you say something that is adjacent or symmetrical to what I'm saying, but not actually I'm saying.
You mean a reductio ad absurdum? That's not a red herring.
That is not a reductio ad absurdum, Parker. What the fuck are you doing?
A red herring.
A 6 to 8 week baby, if they're allowed to continue to develop.
Oh, these fucking idiots! Again, like hyper-partisan politics, like fanatical sports fans, and all that other crap. You can get away with saying something completely stupid and wrong, and all it is signaling. It's like sexual selection. It's like a mating call. You can just flaunt ignorantly, look like a jackass, but as long as it codes or has the veneer of me versus you, then everybody else in your circle jerk will clap like trained seals. This is nauseating.
What ends up happening?
At a certain point, it will become a sentient being in the
Got
future.
it.
The
So
same way
that-
that if I keep engaging in sex with my girlfriend, there'll be a baby in the future. Yet I don't care about the
unless
sperm.
you're infertile, which we don't know. But
Oh, I'm
so
not.
let's see the process of development, right? Why
Do you wanna answer my question
why,
yet?
why do you have the ability or the right?
Should those child P3Os go to prison?
The process.
He said P3Ds! The way these young people have allowed TikTok to tone police their own speech, that's also nauseating. I'm not trying to be like, I'm an alpha. I don't run with any particular pack. I choose my own pathway. But again, to let the mob and whatever else just completely control the way you talk is so pathetic.
Process of
Should the
development
pedophiles go to prison?
from 1904. How many pedophiles
From
are alive
behind.
from 1904?
They're not alive, right? I meant like if you can go back in the past,
Okay, that's just-
hypothetically speaking, and you could put them in prison. Would you put them in
Well,
prison?
I would have killed them myself if I was alive. Back
Okay,
then.
so
But,
then you don't apply
but-
it based upon what people are deceived to believe.
But
You apply it
yes,
based
I
upon
do.
what you consider to be moral.
It's a
So the
separate
women who had
issue.
abortions, you think they should go to prison.
No,
so why
no,
should women who
I-
get abortions go
I've
to prison,
never- I've
but
never
someone
said
like
that.
my mom who
This
told
is
me that
not-
Santa Claus
this
exists
is
shouldn't go to
not
prison
going to
because
be
they're
a
both sins?
constructive debate
Yeah, this is really incredibly stupid.
if you keep on talking over me.
Well, I
right?
was finishing my statement. You were talking over me.
But
But go for it.
Let me ask you a very simple question. Do you think it would be a good thing if we had less abortions in America?
It depends on the context. Like, are the abortions prior to sentience?
Yes.
Because I
all
think-
abortions.
No, it would not be necessarily
Are you
better
against
unless it is
late-term
the case that the
abortion?
people didn't want the abortions and it would be negatively impactful to their health medically speaking.
Are you against
'Cause I think
late-term abortion?
After sentience, yes.
Okay, so you believe in an 8-week abortion ban?
Yeah. No, I don't. Sorry, I believe in an abortion ban after 18 through 26 weeks.
Okay, that's
Sorry,
a
my
more
bad.
reasonable position. I have to
That's heterodox.
give you credit for that.
It's
Why-
similar to Trump's. 15
yeah,
weeks?
Yeah, so why do you think that most people don't share your view on that?
Well, people just don't really know what sentience is. There's not a lot of conversation about abortion. And these conversations are very very difficult. Like they're conceptually hard to go through, and I understand why a lot of people don't understand
for sure.
their positions on it.
So
But I think people
you
have
are where most
you're cutting me off.
Americans
I thought we weren't cutting people off.
I was actually complimenting.
Oh, that was so awful. It gets so much worse. So Charlie Kirk's really famous for just saying college is a scam. So here's Parker to argue that that's not the case in the dumbest way imaginable.
I have a question. Is church a scam?
No, because church is honoring the divine and the eternal and the good and the true and the beautiful. Is college?
But it deceives people because you give a promise of everlasting life, which you don't actually get because Christianity is contradictory logically speaking.
So this is, I mean, he's arguing in bad faith because he's not trying to argue that college is not a scam. He's just going to try to use some rehearsed talking point script that Christianity is false by way of contradiction or something like that. That's typically what he does.
Do you want to get into a theological debate, or are we going to talk
Absolutely.
about college? Because
Both.
I completely disagree. Jesus Christ is my Lord
Like the idea that you could do both is just
and
so
Savior, and we will have eternal life.
ridiculous.
Okay, so how, if there is a perfect being that created the world, how could we exist in an imperfect world?
I'm
An
happy-
Right? Because a God can't create an imperfect. I've heard him do
To have this
Creation.
discussion, can we go back to college though? Because do you think because that's a little bit of a red herring and a little bit of a rabbit hole? Tell me what that has to do with college being a scam.
Well, I do think college can be a scam for certain people. I don't think it's a
Okay,
scam
so
for
we
everyone.
agree.
Though.
So-
For people like me, college was very beneficial for me.
For sure.
I'm asking
Who is
you-
it a
I'm
scam,
asking
though?
you, based upon your definition of a scam, do you consider the Christian church a scam?
Of course not. It's giving people eternal life and teaches them
Wait,
goodness.
but if
and-
Christianity is false, then that's a deception.
okay, but you think it's false. I don't. We can agree to disagree. Also,
Yeah, it's just like this tactic is like, are you going to get him to concede that Christianity is false? Like
I'm not agreeing to disagree on that.
but we're not talking about the church. We're talking about college, right? So again, also people are not paying to go to church, are
But
they?
it's a reductio ad absurdum. Do you know what that is?
Ask the question.
What's a reductio ad absurdum?
That's a Latin term that means reducing down to the lowest common belief, correct?
Yeah, so I'm taking
Am
your
I right? I didn't
particular-
go to college. I knew that.
I'm
But
taking your
let-
particular position.
Let
that
me ask you a question without you interrupting me. Do you pay to go to church?
No, I don't.
Do you-
Some people
hold
do.
on, let me-
They're forced to pay based upon
Hold
their
on.
particular
And-
denomination.
Yeah, Mormons have to give like, I don't remember exactly, but a pretty good chunk of their income to the
Nation.
And
church.
today, do you pay to go to church?
Depending on the church.
No, you don't. Do you have to go to debt to go to church?
In some circumstances, people do because they have to give
What?
up 10% of
What-
their income to
hold
be able
on.
to do that, which people
What
can't afford.
circumstance?
Well, they're LDS. You understand that a lot of LDS churches specifically require 10%.
Yeah,
That's
they don't
Christian.
require it. And what you're
They
talking
do in
about,
plenty of places.
well, you're asking mainline Christian.
Isn't there stigmatization
belief.
if you don't do that?
Okay, you're good at interrupting, not good at answering.
Well,
So
you haven't
just-
answered any of my questions
Well,
yet.
I did say no. Church is not a scam. Church is the bride of Christ. College is a scam. The
bride
and
of
college
Christ.
is people are going into debt. They're paying a lot of money. But I want to ask you a question. You said it's a scam for some people. Who's it a scam for?
Yeah, for people who specifically aren't ever going to use it, never use any of the knowledge
So
that they retain from
52%.
it. Well, you say 52%. I don't think you can qualify 52% of people don't do that.
What number would you say?
For example, my job, that's not going to be recommended as an economics degree. Most economics majors are going to go into TikTok debating online. But I use the information that I learned in college in my job on a daily basis. So I still use
what
relevant
percentage?
qualities that are then used in my job later
Right.
on.
If I had to guess, Charlie's saying like, if we take jobs that require a 4-year degree and compare that to what careers people that end up going to college end up in, that's for that 52% thing, whatever. Now Parker's saying that even if you go into the workforce unrelated to your degree, you still got an education. But if you are saddled with $60,000 worth of debt, what's your ROI, your return on investment? I mean, I'm not really taking a side. I'm just saying that because, well, I don't think college in general is a scam, but there are a lot of people that don't need to go to college.
What percentage of kids that go to college are being scammed? Can you
I
put a number?
don't think anyone knows that.
Can you
Because it's
guess?
dependent upon an individual. I have no clue.
Shouldn't we try to find out?
Well, if you'd like to find some empirics on that, I'd love to see it.
I just did. So 41.
Wait, that's not a source?
Well, the Department of Education is a source.
No, the Department of Education doesn't say 41% of people it was a scam for,
Hold
or that
on.
they didn't use any of the
You're-
information they learned in college.
You are using.
So are you saying none of them used any of the
Can
information in
Can I
college?
say 3 words without you interrupting me?
Do any of them
How
use
about
the information
4?
later on?
Can I say 5 words without
Well,
interrupting
you've
me?
interrupted me multiple times.
No, Parker, you have gone on wild tangents.
So since you say college is a scam for some people,
Mm-hmm.
it's a ballpark. For the kids that do not graduate, 41% that ended up going and not graduating, were they scammed?
No, just because you go and pay for a particular thing, but then you don't follow through with it, doesn't mean you were scammed.
Maybe they were
You
misled.
decided to pay for it. Oh, you could say some people are misled.
Do you
Some
think
people are
that every-
stigmatizing to these things.
do you think
but
that every-
some people are misled in the church?
Do you
and
think-
you never answered my question on that. Because
What about church, Charlie? God. The stuff Parker's saying about college, it's basically fine. But yeah, this thing of that you really came up here to try to be like, I made Charlie Kirk admit that Christianity is silly, or I tried to and failed epically, is just extremely immature and dumb.
because you're trying to
I did.
take that time down so that you don't have to answer the question
Well,
about
hold on.
Christianity.
No, because the topic is college is a scam.
Because you know your worldview looks terrible.
Well, what about Christianity do you want me to answer? We're talking
Well, I think
about
it's
college.
false. Or because I was saying,
Okay.
is church a scam? If church is a scam, that'd be predicated off of the
Okay,
idea that
but-
you're deceived into believing that there's everlasting life,
Okay, but you
specifically from
believe
Christianity.
that, again,
So Christianity has to be true. So can you grant that? What's the argument?
Christianity is true. Did the
What's the
resurrection?
argument?
You're going to let me finish 3 words in a row?
Appreciate it.
Okay. Did the resurrection happen?
I don't think the resurrection occurred.
Okay, I disagree.
Okay, so let me
Good job, Parker. You got him.
ask you a question. A perfect creator, is it possible for them to not desire something imperfect?
Oh, yeah. And then this so
A
bad.
perfect is a perfect creator. I'm sorry, what? Well, we
There's a
believe,
perfect creator that desires everything that's just perfect. How can they desire something imperfect, flawed?
well, because maybe they want to get to know themselves. Maybe they want to see their own creation. Maybe they love.
They
their
want to get to know them?
Can I
He's
finish?
all-knowing.
Can I finish? Can I finish talking here? Okay. Maybe because God loved the world so much that His creation, which rebelled against Him, given agency and free will, rebelled against them, then got eternal life, what we actually deserve, and then sent His Son on a rescue mission to save us from that.
Contradiction because of the omni property.
The church is the bride of Christ, will save us from damnation that we deserve. College is far from the bride of America. It's
keeps
currently
hitting the
scamming
table.
the youth of this country and sending them into oblivion.
Didn't answer the question.
I did.
No, you didn't say how they could desire something imperfect.
How well God can
We'll
do
talk about
anything.
that later.
So the trans thing, I'm not going to play it because it's kind of a train wreck, but the gist of the argument, and it's funny that Parker says this because I've been saying this thing actually for a long time that, you know, you got your, like, whatever, evangelical right-winger that says that gender is all biology. They reject the concept of preferred pronouns, but their God, which is abiological and without gender, has preferred pronouns. The whole thing's a train wreck. You can watch it if you want. I don't think any side looks all that great in it because it's just full of moments like this.
Am I looking
Yes,
at a man?
you are.
Okay, good. Just making
A
sure.
man that's beating you in a debate right now.
Okay, that's fine.
Debating you in a debate right now. Okay, this is the last thing. And I actually haven't heard very much of this. I saw a tiny clip of it somewhere else. So this was actually pretty clever. So Charlie Kirk says Kamala Harris is a DEI candidate. What Parker has said to him is the Electoral College system is like DEI because it's unequal representation. California gets whatever it is, 50 something electoral votes. Wyoming gets 2. Every state is guaranteed 2. If you do the math, I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but California should have vastly more electoral college votes if we base it on the population. So in other words, these rural states are actually overrepresented. And the argument goes that the founders set it up that way so that the majority can't tyrannize the minority or whatever. But this is an interesting, good take, and we're just going to see how it goes.
Your argument is that the U.S. Senate is a DEI. I gotta be honest, I've never heard that argument, but I think it's a little silly. But
How is it silly? Argue against it instead of just saying it's silly.
well,
Oh my God. He's just being toxic.
right. So it's silly on its face because first of all, we have on the House of Representatives is proportional to population.
Oh,
Second,
but the Senate isn't. So it's DEI.
it's not,
Oh, so he's talking about the Senate. Okay, never mind. Well, not never mind, because what I said is true, but he's talking about California should have more people in the Senate. So I just did the math right here, and California gets 1 electoral college vote for every 709,000 people, whereas Wyoming, that's their population, so they get 1 electoral vote per, what would that be, every 290,000 people. So whether you're looking at it from the Senate or the Electoral College, yes, there is a big time overrepresentation of I mean, I wouldn't call them I wouldn't call states with low populations minority groups, but that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head.
It's not DEI.
Yes, it is.
Why would you say it's diversity, equity, inclusion? Because Wyoming.
It's inclusion. It's not. Well, no, it's equitable too, I guess. I would say it's the diversity part, not really. The equity part and the inclusion part, I would say, actually, yes. Now, Charlie's probably going to get hung up on it's a race thing, but conceptually, it functions kind of the same way. And Charlie's not against it. Right-wingers, they will not abandon the Electoral College.
Wyoming gets 2 senators. They're their own sovereign
diversity
state, aren't they?
For country areas, for rural areas,
That's-
equity
that's-
for rural
that's
areas.
That's not
right,
the
and for smaller states.
So let's go back to the Federalist Papers and the Founding Fathers. Why was the Senate composed
Can you tell me
this
why
way?
it's not DEI? Like under your definition,
Well,
why
because
is it
it's not
DEI?
based on race. And by the way,
It doesn't have to be based
it's
on
also
race.
based. It's not based on
You can have-
equity, and
can't
it's
you
not
have-
based on inclusion.
Can't you have
But
DEI
let me-
based upon different
let me tell you
characteristics
why.
other than race?
Let me finish.
Whether or not you're a woman, whether or not.
Let me finish. Why? It's because we are a collection of states. We are not a federal project. So states' rights usurp federal. Do you know what the 17th Amendment is?
Do you know why the Articles of Confederation failed?
Yes, but what is the
Why?
10th Amendment?
Because states had too many rights, had too
Right.
much power.
What is the 10th
That's why we
Amendment?
specifically adopted the
Parker,
Constitution.
let me make one point, okay?
Go ahead.
Which is, how did we used to elect senators?
It'd be population.
No. We used to elect senators based on state legislatures. So the Senate is an extension of the state legislative bodies. That's not DEI, that's federalism.
No.
That's the way that our system is
You're
set up,
misunderstanding what I'm
which is
saying
a
is DEI.
bottom-up, citizen-led government to allow the states, which are first and foremost sovereign. So it goes in this ladder in this country.
That's still DEI for those states
Citizens,
and for those country areas.
No, because it's colorblind. It's not that.
It's
we
wait
get white
again.
states
DEI
more
is
than
not
black
only
states.
based.
Yeah, he's getting hung up on it. I think Charlie's not getting his point either. That Wyoming, like the small rural Republican states, are overrepresented.
On race.
Hold on a second.
Diversity for country, diversity for rural, equity for
Hold on a
rural,
second.
and inclusion of
So,
rural.
no, that's an interesting point. So
you think
diversity.
DEI is only race
Let me
because
ask you a
you
question.
associate it with Kamala Harris?
Let me ask you a question. Is there a single instance in corporate America where DEI is implemented where diversity means anything other than skin color diversity?
So diversity.
No, it's not
women,
about viewpoint.
Women.
What? Fine. How about chromosome or
oh.
diversity or skin color?
So skin color. There's gender. You have to move the goalpost a little bit because you got destroyed there. All right, but there's all.
Oh my God, why is he acting like such a brat?
Also-
No, I'm just asking a very simple question. The answer is no, because our system
That
of
doesn't mean
government.
that's not DEI. It still meets your
saying
definition.
the Senate is DEI.
What was your definition though?
What is?
What was your definition? Diversity, equity, inclusion. Diversity doesn't
Well,
only
hold
apply to
on.
race.
Let me
You're just
tell
saying
you-
other people defined
Parker, let me
diversity,
finish.
equity, inclusion to be
Let me
based on
finish.
race. You didn't though.
Let me finish, because you're saying you didn't earn it. You know who did earn it? South Dakota and North Dakota when they charted themselves into states.
Wyoming didn't earn it because they have less of a
formed themselves
population.
into a state. Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been more satisfying. I feel like Parker had some A's and some F's, so like I'll give you a C+. Well, I'll be eagerly reading your hate messages for the points that I made. I'll see you tomorrow.